Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are taking a look at this interview with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's going to be giving comments about President Joe Biden and whether or not if she's going to endorse him in the 2024 presidential election. Let's go.
Poll after poll shows Americans believe the country is heading in the wrong direction, with many placing the blame squarely.
As you can probably see, because I'm not subscribed, I do not watch CNN, so.
On President Biden. But there are signs even some elected Democrats are wavering in their support for the president. Listen to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. CNN's Dana Bash asked her today if she would endorse Biden in 2024.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I think if the president has a vision, then that's something certainly we're all willing to entertain and examine when the time comes.
That's not a yes.
CNN does not like this whatsoever. They want the American people to focus on 2024 so they don't worry about the problems that the Democrats could address at the moment. It's a distraction, just about everything that they do. It's all just a distraction because the Democrats do not want to do anything that will benefit the lives of American people.
Yeah, I think we should endorse when we get to it, but I believe that the president has been doing
I agree with her. We should wait until 2024 to talk about the election. I mean, not Bernie. Joe Biden most likely will not run again in 2024. What I'm thinking is it most likely will be Kamala Harris, running mate Pete Buttigieg, that the corporate wing of the Democratic Party support. Now, Bernie might run again if Joe Biden doesn't happen to run, but slim chances of Bernie running again. AOC could possibly run. Elizabeth Warren, that's who, one or the other is probably what I'll put my support behind if Bernie doesn't run. I don't love my chances AOC because she's not near as influential as Bernie Sanders, and she kind of tends on things like the Latinx term, which there's a lot more problems we need to take care of. We need to worry about health care, inflation, gas prices. These are priorities that Americans are worrying about. And you've got AOC up here talking about Latinx and how Democrats should be using the term more. Let's continue.
a very good job so far, and should he run again, I think that I think it's we'll take a look at it.
So let's discuss with CNN political commentator and
This is not exactly what the video I was looking for. I was just looking for the interview. Let's go back there some. AOC said something I do not like whatsoever.
I think it's we'll take a look at it. I so far, and when we get to it, but I believe that the president has been doing a very good job so.
Joe Biden has not been doing a very good job. Just look at every single thing he tries to do. Every single thing he promised he would do, he's been doing the opposite of. He's not doing a good job. I want to say I believe AOC said this because she was on CNN. She'd get a lot of backlash if she didn't act as if Biden was doing a good job. That's what I want to say. Going to try to stay somewhat optimistic about it. I mean, it's totally not true, though. Let's hear what these bird brains have to say.
We'll take a look at it.
So let's discuss with CNN political commentator and former political advisor to President Obama, David Axelrod. Hi, David. So you heard there, hey, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's comment.
All right, who really cares what a former president of advisors think about a politician who is not even part of the corporate wing. AOC, though there are problems with her and the things she says and does, she is not part of the corporate wing of the Democrat Party. And then we've got corporate Demo. This is why CNN is such a. It's just propaganda for liberals, propaganda for right wing liberals and capitalist liberals. Well, that's what liberalism is, neoliberalism. It's just socially liberal, economically conservative, or economically capitalist.
Comments. They come as the New York Times published this article, and I want to read part of it to you. It says, as the challenges facing the nation mount and fatigued base voters show low enthusiasm, Democrats in union meetings, the back rooms of Capitol Hill, and party gatherings from coast to coast are quietly worrying about Mr. Biden's leadership, his age, and his capability to take the fight to former President Donald J. Trump a second time.
Yeah, but Biden cannot do it. The people they're going to back is going to be Kamala and Pete.
So, in your view, should the president be worried about a potential uprising inside his party? What's your reaction to this?
My feeling is if the president.
They're already worried about this. Just look at all the progressive members in the House that they're trying to oust at the moment. Uh, Look at the New York, I believe, where it was. They redistricted in a way where it would pin a corporate Democrat against a progressive Democrat, and then try to frame it as if the progressives are selling out their own party and they don't want them to run, is the bottom line. And if they do run, they're going to paint them as the bad guy and paint them as the ones that are trying to undermine the party's agenda, which is not so. It's just they don't want progressives in because progressives are not part of the status quo.
Decides, and he says he's going to run. If he does run, my guess is he'll not my guess, I'm certain he'll be the nominee.
I seriously doubt he'll run again. Joe may say it, but just look at 3/4 of the things Joe has done during his presidency. It's always been the opposite of what he says.
Of the Democratic Party, it would be suicidal for the party to have a primary campaign against the sitting president of the United States. History is very clear on.
Yeah, they most likely won't try to do that, and because they don't want progressives or socialists trying to run against the incumbent, because they think they most likely will win. Because if Democrat voters get ticked off about Joe Biden's pitiful job as president, they could potentially vote for someone progressive or someone socialist. And that's what they fear the most. It has nothing to do with Republican Party. It's just a back and forth between two parties. They use these terms so you won't see the broader pictures. Is that the term I'm looking for? I'm not sure, but so you won't see the whole picture. They use those terms. So you'll just be fighting between parties. No, both parties are equally, Republicans are more evil, but Democrats are evil as well.
On that, when presidents get serious primary challenges, they generally prevail and they generally lose in a general election. And the one thing that unifies.
Yeah, we want Joe Biden to lose. We want someone like Bernie or AOC, or Bernie's like one of the most popular politicians at the moment. Donald Trump's pretty popular too, but Bernie is one of the most popular. I don't really know how much of the country actually like Trump, I don't think it's as near as much as people act like it is, because conservatives only make up a small majority of the country, as do liberals, as do socialists as well. Most people are basically in the center of socialism and capitalism. That's where three-fourths of the country lies between.
Democrats, more than anything, is the prospect of a second Trump term. So, I saw some social media from AOC after that interview in which she said she could have handled that answer better and wasn't prepared for it. I don't think she meant to signal.
What she should have done when answering that question is say, no, I am not going to endorse Joe Biden because Joe Biden's the enemy. Endorsing him would be propping up the enemy. That's what she should have said. And that he should be holding a primary in 2024. I don't care if it hurts Joe Biden's chances of getting reelected. He doesn't need to be reelected. One, first off, he's way too old. And two, second, he is doing a terrible job as president, won't take care of inflation, won't take care of gas prices because he's worried about the Republicans, what they will say about him if he goes against something they believe. He could nationalize the energy sector if he was really cared about gas prices. He could have the government do oil drilling in our country. We've got lots of oil reserves that we don't even touch. Instead, he wants to make deals with Saudi Arabia, beg them for oil, or invade you, help fight against Vladimir Putin in Ukraine so that he can get our troops in there and get oil from Ukraine. This is their plans. We've got oil reserves, plenty that we could get our oil from. It's basically what I'm saying. But I guess I'm not really too sure the reason why they don't do the oil reserves in our country. But if I had to guess, it probably has to do with if you create a middleman, then you have an excuse to raise prices. So that's what I'm thinking is corporate greed, because all these outsourcing jobs, all these getting our products from other countries, all that is just creating a middleman for corporations to raise, have cheaper labor. First off, like just look at China, slave labor like $2 an hour, have forced children to work for like $2 an hour, and then and then have the prices really high, just raise the prices. It's he could take care of corporate greed. He could nationalize the energy sector, nationalize healthcare, or and he could put strict regulations on corporations, but they are not interested in this because they're right wingers. They are only care about profit and power. They're too busy worrying about 2024 when he's currently the president right now. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have a bill in the Senate that I don't even know if it has had a vote on it yet, but it would address inflation. But the thing is, if they push for that bill to get passed, what it would be Republicans and people like Joe Manchin will get their hands on it and water it down. Just look at the new gun reform bill that they're doing. It's terribly watered down. It's most likely just going to benefit the gun lobby and things like that. It barely even addresses guns. Let's continue.
Disquiet in there, but it does come at a bad time for the president. It's not not particularly helpful. I think, Pam, one thing in that story, and I think I was quoted in that story, that is real, and it's different than any other president. I mean, President Obama was under siege as well at this time in his presidency, and there was hand wringing.
Quick takeaway from that. I am very much against former President Obama. He did a terrible job as president. Just all he really did was just help corporations, the military-industrial complex, kill a bunch of innocent people in foreign countries with his drone strikes. Just more third way Bill Clinton type of politics.
And quiet meetings going on as well. But he was also 30 years younger than this president. And that is a concern, the ability to run a rigorous, vigorous campaign and manage the presidency at the same time when he's in his 81st year. And I think that's a legitimate question. And it's one he's going to have to consider when he toes up to the line and makes the final call that he's going to go.
But I'm just curious, does what I read to you from that New York Times article, does that seem right to you in terms of this hand-wringing among Democrats as the country sees, inflation go up to
This CNN, basically what it is the corporate propaganda of the Democratic Party. If you notice, they will not criticize any Democrat unless they are progressive or socialist. They only want to criticize the progressives and the socialists. They didn't even show the full interview of the AOC interview. The reporter that was talking to AOC absolutely attacked her, kept saying, "But why would you run against a corporate Democrat? You're betraying us." That's basically what she was saying. Let's continue.
record levels. You have the supply chain issues ongoing.
Support a progressive. AOC's. She's not running against no one right now.
Consumer sentiment rather, just hit a record low. Polling showing the economy is far and away the most important factor in voters' choice for.
Gas prices hit $5 for the first time. Nationalize the energy sector. Inflation costing families extra $450 a month. Regulate corporations. Put tariffs on goods that come into the country. Increase tariffs on goods that come into the country. And bring more jobs back into America and punish businesses for outsourcing jobs. Dow falls 1,500 plus points in 2 days. Now, I think that has to do with stocks. That third thing has absolutely nothing to do with the middle class, the working class. That has to, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know too much about the stocks, but from what I understand, this really just has to do with corporations and the rich. It's only affecting them. I don't think it's actually affecting the middle class, the stocks.
For Congress, as we head towards the midterms, are you sensing that kind of hand?
You gotta read everything about this because they're not very honest. Economy includes economy. I would say more than 48% of voters are concerned about the economy from both people that support both parties, Republicans, Democrats alike. It's more than 48%. Gun violence more than 17%. Abortion more than 12%, especially with the Democratic Party. Immigration 6%, probably a little higher especially for Republican Party voters.
Hand wringing.
Oh, for sure. First of all, Democrats.
Housing cost. You could create more free or at least affordable housing, and eventually someday get to free housing. What about a socialist that Fox News had on recently pointed this out? She made a fantastic point. These large corporations own houses that are never going to be rented out or anything. That just are sitting there. No one lives in them. No one's going to rent them or anything. And she was urging the people to take the houses, the poor to go in them houses and set up, just live in them. Which, yeah, corporations, if no one's buying the house, they're just sitting there, and there are people. If you got that, there's no reason to have people out on the streets just sleeping, homeless.
Hammering for practice. So it's not unusual for this to be going on. I mean, I experienced that when I was in the White House. So yes, but look.
Yeah, they won't have on actual American people, actually working class people, to talk about these issues. All they want to ever have on is like political analysis and analysis, people that were have roots in politics, or people that's, take for example, Jen Psaki went from press secretary for Joe Biden to MSNBC. And then you've got these military generals, every time they talk about war, have these military generals on in order to warmonger and tell you why we need whatever war. They do not have on middle class people that are directly affected by what the president does, what the Senate, the House does. They don't have these kind of people on. They have these rich elites that are not going to be affected by these. Even if abortion is banned, they can fly to another country where abortion is legal. So, economy, they're just profiting off of gas prices being so high and corporate price gouging. You notice they call it inflation. It's corporations have made record profits over the course of the pandemic. It's not inflation, it's corporate price gouging. And gun violence, you're not going to end gun violence if the Republican Party's influenced by the gun lobbying money. Abortion, I already said something about that. Immigration, we have so many kids in cages. I mean, the border, Joe Biden has a stricter border policy than even Trump had, but he's just not very good at handling that. And that's the problem. That's the border crisis issue. That's what it is. But the way we treat illegal immigrants, people coming into our country illegally as well, is just inhumane. We've got ridiculous fees for just coming into the country. They're trying to keep poor people out of the country. That's what they're doing. So let's continue.
Democrats are in a bad spot right now. I don't think anybody can deny that. I mean, the inflation.
Yeah, but they refuse to do anything. If they would do something, do anything to help the American people, to help the middle class, the lower class, the poor, if they would do anything, the Democrats could win 2022 easily, the midterms in 2022. But no, just about every Democrat in there is a corporate Democrat getting bought and paid for by corporations.
Inflation's at a 40-year high. We're still coming through a pandemic that has unsettled all of us.
No, that's the same thing.
The whole issue of supply chains, what's on the grocery store shelves, and so on.
Supply chain issues, like I said before, to fix supply chain issues, increase tariffs and bring more jobs back into America. Punish corporations from outsourcing jobs. It's that simple. Prices will go down because you're cutting out the middleman if you prevent corporations from outsourcing jobs. And also invest in stuff in the United States. For example, for electric cars, you need a computer chip. Start investing to do it in the United States. Do like more mining for lithium and all the other components for a chip for a car electric car, and also invest in more cleaner energy resources. That would also lower gas prices. Well, not really lower gas prices. What that do is we wouldn't have to worry about gas prices. We could just, if electric vehicles were more advanced, if we do more research into them and they were more reliable, then we could potentially move from gas and oil. There is a problem with the airplanes and things like that. I don't know what we'd do about fuel for those. Comment down below if you got a suggestion for that. But I do have an idea for that. If we invest in more public transportation, perhaps trains could be an interesting idea. Maybe. I'm not sure though. Well, no, that won't work intercontinental. That won't work in foreign countries. I'll have to think about that idea because I don't know what we do about that. Unless we do like we could possibly do like it would cost a lot of money, but we should be investing in more infrastructure rather than our military so much. But let's continue.
All of these issues have conspired to create a sense of disquiet. Only a quarter of the country think that we're headed in the right direction, despite the fact that we're in a much different place relative to the virus now, and the economy in all other aspects is much stronger than it was a year.
All right, when they talk about the economy, all they care about is the economy for the rich and the corporations. That's all they care about. They're not worried about poor people having the working class barely being able to pay rent, for food, for energy, housing. They're not worried about that. Otherwise, they would be looking at real solutions to help. Not just going on with the same talking points they have been going on for with years. And just going back and forth attacking each other.
A year and a half ago. These are bad signs for Democrats, as is the president's approval rating, which it's at a historic.
Joe Biden's approval rating was at its highest rate when he had the child tax credits. If he would do more welfare programs, give more money back into the community, raise the federal minimum wage, for example, to at least $15 an hour. I support a living wage, but $15 an hour would help tremendously. Raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. And at least something like that. Cancel all student loan debt. These are basic things he could do. Now, nationalize the energy sector. I do not know if the president has the power to do that. Maybe through executive order, but he's not going to do any of these because at the end of the day, Joe Biden just wants to be friends with the Republican Party.
Low, hovering there around 40%. All of that is true. There is a lot of time between now and the next presidential election. And again, I think
that's why we shouldn't be focusing on this right now. We should be focusing on the problems that are going on right now. The baby formula shortage, gun violence, abortion, like I said, inflation and gas prices. Technically not inflation, but that's a term that everyone uses. So,
most important decision is the one the president himself makes as to whether he feels like he is up to another go at this. And I think the thing that's motivating him, Pam, is the prospect of Trump. You hear from the people around him that they feel that he feels that he's the guy who can beat Trump. He did it once. He wants to make sure that Trump.
He's an 80-year-old man. He's got like 35% approval rate. Does he really think he is going to beat Donald Trump in 2024? There's no way. That he's lucky to make it to 2023. And if he gets us into a war with Russia, then yeah, no, this guy is probably most likely going to be impeached. if Americans have any bit of sense and they're not completely brainwashed by the corporate media.
Trump is beaten again. He thinks he can do that. So that is animating him in his thoughts about 2024. But that's a long way from now. And at some point, he's going to have to evaluate whether this is the best thing for him, best thing for the party, the country, and his family.
Really, the best thing to do is he either do something or impeach him. But the problem with that, like I said in the last video, Kamala Harris, she's far worse than Joe Biden. Fear Kamala more than Joe. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I don't know when my next video will be, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Try not to kill each other. And peace.